United States Army presents The Big Picture, an official report produced for the armed forces and the American people. Now, to show you part of the big picture, here is Sergeant Stuart Queen.
Today's big picture is very close to me personally. Because in a way what happened to Private First Class Ed Griffith happened to me and others assigned to the Military District of Washington. We came here to fill particular jobs, saw the city, and then, because of our military duties, came to know a side of the Capitol that the tourist seldom sees as he passes through. Here is Private Ed Griffith on his way to Headquarters, USA.
This is Captain Frank Chapman. We will be landing in Washington in 5 minutes.
In the minds and hearts of the 200 men of Company E, as in every training company on its final day of basic, emotions of many kinds are today crowding each other for recognition. Here is one of the graduates, Ed Baker, recruit Edward Doolittle Baker. For him, as for all the others, the last 8 weeks have gone by quickly.
8 weeks? Is that possible? Was it really only 2 months ago?
Indeed it was. You may think it was a red-letter day in the Army's history when they got you, Baker, but you've got to admit you were a pretty sad apple. And those first few days in the reception center didn't seem to you to offer much improvement. For the recruit, those first days are the most bewildering, as he moves from line to line, getting inoculated against diseases he has never worried about before. Clothed in the uniform that will identify him from this day on, oriented, indoctrinated, processed. He acquires a new identity, but not a completely new one. When he comes into the Army, a man is, after all, the product of the years which lie behind him. His education, his experience, the basic skills he has lived and worked with. It is to both his advantage and the Army's that the Army find out as much about him as possible, so that he can eventually serve in the most efficient way. But for every man who enters the Army, whatever his eventual service is to be, there must first come 8 weeks of basic soldier training in a training company. And here, too, there are a few shocks to the recruit's system, a few new facts which at first he might find hard to assimilate.
Stand at ease. I am Lieutenant Izett, your company commander. I want to welcome you to Company E, 1st Training Regiment. This will be your home for the next 8 weeks.
Home, the man said.
No, home was never like this, was it? The alarm clock never went off at 5:30. But now, now the day starts when days should start.
Should start? Where do you get the should start bit? Personally, I don't have anything against hearing an alarm go off at, well, say, 7:30 or so.
That's a good, solid recruit-type point of view, Baker. You think breakfast comes early in this new home, huh?
It comes early, all right, but that's not all. You have to work for it, too. Pull-ups yet, before you can get in the mess hall. There was a time I wouldn't have believed I could eat breakfast at this hour. But then, there were lots of things I didn't realize I could do.
Of course there were. In soldiering, as in everything else, everyone finds that things come harder at the beginning. And because so much is expected, most men respond to the challenge and try to do their best. That's the fastest way to make the adjustment. And certainly, adjustment is necessary. For the Army is, after all, a completely new way of life. There is a quality which pervades those first days which no man who has been through it can ever forget. It is a kind of loneliness, but a special kind, reserved for the individual who suddenly finds himself part of an overwhelming organization, which is built not only on regulation and discipline, but on tradition too, and an abiding pride in its past.
No, they've got no use for praises loudly sung, but in every soldier's heart in all the infantry shines.
The leading author of the Constitution of the United States, a man who believed passionately in democracy. I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. The exact center of town, the Washington Monument.
At the base, it's 55 feet square with walls 15 feet thick. It was the tallest structure to build at the time and was meant to symbolize the lofty ideals of our first president.
From the top, you could see the layout of the city. The White House to the north. To the east, in a straight line, the Capitol. This is one city that was certainly planned. South, the Jefferson Memorial and the Potomac. To the west, the Lincoln Memorial. A copy of the Parthenon in Greece, the driver said. But as you approach this memorial, Lincoln seems to be on your mind more than classic architecture. And then he is suddenly there. And somehow, because the statue goes beyond what you expect, he seems almost alive. Sad, wise, humble, and a quality of greatness that everyone seems to feel here. The quiet is almost like in church.
The Pentagon, headquarters of the Department of Defense, the largest office building in the world. On Monday morning, Ed became one of the many thousands on his way to work there. Once built in record time, the Pentagon is still an efficient building for carrying out the huge amount of office work involved in the business of modern defense. His new job was in the Staff Communications Office of the Chief of Staff. Major military messages flowing through this office keep the Chief of Staff in contact with troops in every area of operations. Ed's work was in a room where a record of every message sent is kept on file, so that if one is called for, it can be quickly located. If, for example, the White House requests a message, this office has the reputation of finding and delivering it within 20 minutes. Ed's previous experience had been in message centers at lower echelons. When a new man was needed here, he was chosen because of his background and an excellent record. His job, like many others filled by enlisted men in the Pentagon, is essential work in a key area of our defense system.
Working in the Pentagon, you get a sense of the importance of what goes on here. Just down the hall, for example, is the office of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, where policy is determined for the defense of the country. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization has the office of its standing group here. This unit helps develop defense policies on an international level. Seeing NATO members in the Pentagon, you realize how day after day, the countries of the free world are working closely together. It's a good feeling to see the international atmosphere and to know that if it's ever necessary, we're ready to help each other with well-planned military support. Beside being huge in size, the Pentagon has just about everything within its walls. This is a city in itself, and well worth a tour. With all kinds of shops and conveniences, the concourse is really a sort of American Main Street. A barber shop is for all service personnel. Here, whether you're a PFC or a two-star general, you receive the same treatment for the same price. A more basic problem, feeding all the people in the Pentagon, is answered by several large cafeterias. Lunchtime during good weather is sometimes an occasion for a short concert by the United States Army Band in the Pentagon's inner court. The Army Band and the Army Chorus are the representative musical organizations of the Army, performing at important ceremonies and concerts. Sometimes Army personnel, well known in the entertainment world, are featured soloists with the band. For example, one day I heard Steve Lawrence.
I'm discontented with homes that are rented, so I have invented my own. Darling, this place is a lover's oasis, where life's weary chase is unknown. Far from the cry of the city, where flowers pretty caress the stream. It's cozy to hide in, to live side by side in. Don't let it abide in my dreams. Oh, honey, I'm a lazy river by the old mill run, that lazy, lazy river in the noonday sun. Throw away your troubles and dream of me. Up the lazy river where that robin song waits for the bright new morning, where we can move along. Blue skies up above, everyone's in love. Up that lazy river, how happy we're gonna be. Up that lazy river with me. Up the lazy river by the old mill run. Troubles and dream of me. Up the lazy river by the old mill run. Lazy, lazy river in the noonday sun. Blue skies above, everyone's in love. Up the lazy river with me.
In the military district of Washington, a scheduled amount of time is given over to just plain soldiering. Tied to a desk during the week, a man doesn't mind being untied during physical training periods. Once a week, Headquarters Company, United States Army, falls out in formation. Only at this time are these men brought together as a unit.
You look very good this morning, Sergeant. Thank you, sir. Hold, Frank! Hold! Stand up! Heat!
While each is a specialist, all share in the mission of protecting the capital of the United States. A mission appropriately symbolized by their patch, a sword across the Washington Monument. Serving at the nation's most important ceremonies is an organization that also wears the patch of the Military District of Washington. 1st Battle Group, 3rd Infantry. During such visits as that of Queen Elizabeth, the 3rd, the oldest active regular Army infantry unit, often referred to as the Old Guard, is the organization in the capital representing the United States Army. In every ceremony, the 3rd participates with something beyond precision. There is pride in having been chosen for moments of international importance. Here, the laying of a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. The mission of perpetually guarding this sacred shrine, 24 hours a day, every day of the year. This, too, is an honor for which the 1st Battle Group, 3rd Infantry has been chosen. Today, beside the grave of an unknown soldier of World War I, lie an unknown serviceman of World War II. And another who fell in the Korean War. In the guard room beneath the amphitheater at Arlington Cemetery, men of the Honor Guard Company of the 3rd wait their turn. They carry out duties essential to the tradition of perfection surrounding every aspect of the Tomb Guard's mission. When the time comes to change the guard, the new man is ready in every detail for the assignment. Young men of the Old Guard are conscious of the tradition of their unit and the traditional ceremony that holds such deep meaning to all Americans.
Left shoulder, pull! Forward, pull!
For this assignment, each man must be a volunteer. Besides meeting certain physical requirements, the record of each man who guards the tomb must be of the highest caliber.
Forward, pull! Guard, pull! Ready, turn! Straight down, pull! Forward, pull! Ready, turn! None of your orders.
Posts and orders remain as directed.
Orders acknowledged. Ready, turn! Straight down, pull!
Perpetual Guard, a highly esteemed responsibility of the 1st Battle Group, 3rd Infantry. The new guard begins a tour of duty that keeps alive the meaning of this symbol of sacrifice. Here at Arlington Cemetery is the final resting place for great military leaders and outstanding individuals from nearly every walk of life. The 3rd participates in full honor funerals. A flag-draped casket, resting on a caisson, is brought in solemn procession to the place of burial. A riderless horse accompanies the body of a general or flag officer. Prior to these